Okay.
Okay,
You are good to go.
thank you. So let's get started. The first item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. I sent it out when I sent out, I believe that I sent it out when I sent it out to Kate. Actually, I sent it out to Ashley, not knowing that she was in labor when I sent it out to her. So that was, so she forwarded it on to Kate. So thank you, Kate. Um, so can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? With the correction I mentioned before you got on, Debbie, I mentioned that I put the wrong date. I put December 20th instead of December 9th. So with that correction in mind.
I motion to accept them.
Okay. Debbie, will you second for me?
I'll second the motion.
So all in favor?
Aye.
The three of us. Okay, and I forgot, I was on vacation and I did not send out the minutes. So I will do both this meeting and the previous meeting next time we meet. I just, we had our discussion last time about, some of the action items. And Debbie, I don't think you were on yet, that we had tried to hire a finance director and kind of it fell through at the last minute. So that's something that's now tabled until the fall. So we're looking at that.
So we couldn't get one, or they didn't take the job, or?
He was essentially hired, and then Bill just told me that she basically, the company that she currently works for wouldn't let her do the part-time gig in Dewey, so she had to decline. So they'll wait until August, right, Bill? Before you.
Yeah, so we interviewed, we stacked them, we ranked them. She came out number one. She accepted. She sent that exception by an email. And then about a week and a half later, she came back and said her current employer had changed their mind and that she could not work part-time for the town of Dewey Beach. So that happened all in April. And we had to make a decision with Luff. Luff was either you're going to be with us or you're not going to be with us. That was actually, might have been towards the end of March. So we decided, instead of jumping through hoops again, getting ready for this audit, to stay with Luff. We will post again in August. We'll interview in November. And then rank them, stack them, and then pick somebody, and they'll start in January for us.
Okay.
Or with that. So that was obviously one of the priorities from the audit. I know Bernie you want to talk a little bit about the IT portion that I know you've sent out this, and you've spent a lot of time on it.
So what I did is I put together a series of questions just to get a good feel for what does the IT security look like for Dewey Beach. And so with that, none of it's been verified, but if everything's truthful, we've got a pretty decent program. We've got proper corrections. Supposedly the laptops are all encrypted. They do audits. They've got certain pieces of equipment in place to do not only virus protection and malware protection, but also go out and if there are violations of policy, do that, to include if someone tries to join the network and shouldn't be. So it looks pretty good, but
I'll go ahead
it should be verified.
I'll go ahead and forward this to everybody, the committee, as well as Gary and Sheena and Bill, so that they can take a look at what you've done.
Okay.
I know you've spent some time on it. And then where are we with the policy manual review? Gary, you want to
I tried to do something with it. I just ran out of bandwidth, honestly, to devote much time to it. And I think in the interim, Bill, we had a new town manager, so I think it is more appropriately back in his court at this point. And so I don't know, Bill, have you had a chance to even consider the policy manual that Julie's talking about?
Yeah, so it Diane Campanella sent it to me. Is that which one we're talking about?
No, we're talking about the accounting policy manual, which I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Gary, I apologize. No, I have not. I didn't even know that one existed. I've been looking at our personnel policy manual through our HR person and updating that. So no, I haven't.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in one of the recommendations from the auditors, and we do have a draft that we've had now for some time. Sheena circulated it to a couple of us, and it's a large document. Some of it, is beyond my level of education with respect to how things operate in Dewey Beach, but there's some other that clearly need to be updated. The investment policy that's in that current draft needs to be updated. There's some other things too. But maybe we just need to talk about a way to get that done, with you in place now. Talk about the best way to really get that done.
I also had volunteered to help Gary a little bit early on, and it's daunting. I mean, as he said, you look at the thing and your eyes are like, okay, and it's just big and so much. What I was thinking though is breaking it into small pieces would make it a whole lot easier. And so maybe what we do is we just say, and I can't remember what it looks like now, but I'll go back and look at it. Let's just take this section and maybe a couple people look at it. And then if we get to a point, Gary, and I agree with you, there were some things that, without an accounting background, it's very difficult to figure out. And then we just go and we look for some expertise on that particular section. It'll take longer, but at least it will be able to start it. Otherwise, the thing is going to look at us for a long time.
Well, and that's kind of how we tackled the charter and code review, is we kind of took it in sections, and it seemed to be a little more manageable that way. So that's an excellent idea, Debbie. So then our other big issue is our fund balance policy. So Gary, I'll also let you take the lead on that. Where are we?
We did approve a fund balance policy at the last town commissioners meeting in May,
Okay.
May 14th.
Yay.
The process, I think you all know, we had the three committees, we had the joint meeting,
Right.
had a lot of good discussion. Then we reconvened the chairs of the three committees with Bill and with the commissioners, and well, at least with some of the commissioners. We couldn't have all of them because it was not a public meeting. We had the auditors on board. After that meeting, I put together some options. I put together 3 options, which really represented the range of approaches that were recommended at the 2 previous meetings. Bill then had a conversation with the auditors about those 3 options. And out of that, we, taking the advice that Bill got from the auditors at that meeting, I developed that into kind of a hybrid or a combination of a couple of the options. So basically what it involves is creating an assigned rainy day fund balance that would be equal to at least 6 months of operating expenses. And then having an unassigned fund balance, which would be equal to about 15% or almost 2 months of operating expenses. And so once we implement that, the notion is that there would still hopefully be some money left over that wouldn't be assigned either to the rainy day balance or to the unassigned balance that we could use to seed a capital improvement fund. So that's the approach that we're following. That's the approach that we approved, and that's what we're trying to get implemented now. And I just exchanged emails with Sheena, and she's on track to get that put in place.
Oh, great. Well, that's nice to hear that that's kind of put to bed, at least for now, with the commissioners having a.
And hopefully the auditors won't, find problems with it. But if they do, we'll just revisit. And
right. Well, I think
vamp as necessary.
That call was really helpful because they gave us, I feel like they gave us a lot more guidance than any of us really had, and I think there was, at least from my standpoint, I know there was some confusion about how the funds were done and everything else. So that was helpful. So I appreciated their time on that. So those are kind of our big issues. So it's, we're still obviously working on things. Unfortunately, I mean, like I said, I'm glad we got the fund balance done, but it sounds like we still have quite a bit of work to do on the other areas. So, but I wanted to at least kind of touch base with everybody and, like I said, ask Sheena and Bill how the audit itself was going and kind of where we were, and if there was anything, that you guys from the town perspective, need our committee to focus on at this point.
No, we got the paperwork that I discussed earlier today, and then about 2 weeks ago, they sent some things to Sheena and then over to Lup to start working for the audit. So
Okay.
Right now we're moving in the right direction.
Well, that sounds great. So any final comments? I mean, I know this is short, but we're kind of just chugging along. it's more of an update rather than making any real decisions tonight. So
Just,
any other thoughts from anyone? Gary?
when do you think you'll need to get back together again?
I mean, I know obviously the charter requires the audit to be due in August. Have you heard from Cone Resnick at all, Bill, about kind of an anticipated end date for them?
I think it's on the same schedule as last year, sometime in August. I mean, Sheena, anything different?
I haven't heard anything. I was kind of hoping that it would go so smoothly because everything's going so great in town that it'll be quick and by the end of June we'll be done. But
I want to say that they got us a draft by mid-July last year. Like they were just waiting on a couple of items, but the overall, most of it was done by mid-July, which gave us a little extra time. So hopefully that will be if not early July, mid-July at the latest. So we have a month to kind of look at it and make any recommendations or ask any questions about it before we try to pass it on to the commissioners. So anything else from anyone?
Speaking of Cone Resnick, are we coming, isn't this year 3?
It
When
is.
are we looking at the?
I would
up
like
meeting?
to start tackling that in the fall, like basically as soon as we get the audit passed and everything, I'd like to take a look. You know, I think I mentioned it to at least Gary as well. I think I mentioned it to you too, Bill, that, you know, this is the 3rd year and I want to not have what happened
Yes.
happened a couple of years ago where we were scrambling and we were late and all that stuff because the process started so late. So anyway, that's my kind of anticipated goal, that to start it probably September, October at the absolute latest, so that we have, whether it's, even if it's not Cone Resnick, that we have, which I've liked them a lot, but you know, obviously I know their price is going to increase because they bid it a little lower in order to get our business. So, you know, that's going to be a consideration as well. So we'll have to open that process again. Anything else from anyone? Anyone? Deb, you're on mute.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Are we going to work on any of these? I mean, are we going to start back and looking at, you know, some of the projects we had thought about? Should we make any assignments, or should we,
Well,
or do we want to wait for the next meeting, or?
yeah, I mean, I think your suggestion is a good one about the policy, but you know, I again don't have the total expertise on as far as accounting policies, but you know, if there's a piece of it that you feel comfortable, Deb, that you want to at least get started on, or if you'd rather just wait, you know.
But for what? I mean, that's what I don't know.
I mean, until like
we
the
wait-
next meeting, or until we're further, I mean, you know, we're going to have the same recommendation from Cone Resnick. But
Right, we just kick the can down the road.
right, exactly. So
I'm big on that. I can do that if it's not going to hurt us. Unless we get, you know, again, we could always wait till we get a financial person and hired and give it to them
well,
to take a look at.
I mean, so that's probably the first of the year. So that's waiting a long time, but you know, it might
I mean,
be.
you got to see this document. It's like,
I
you
know.
read it and you
It
want to
is.
go to sleep. It's easy.
Yeah.
You're done. Okay.
But if we do hire a finance director, you know, maybe it is good because, you know, then the policies are kind of implemented under their guidance and leadership. So
They can own it. Yeah.
yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, so when the finance person comes in next year, we want to have a good transition with Luff over at least a 30-day period, if not longer. So with Luff's contract is until the end of March.
Okay.
So if we bring the person on in January, we'll have January and February to do that. Yeah, we want to make sure that we have the most qualified person that understands. I guess it's what, Gary, GFOA, or is that the?
No, this is something, this is really just a document that provides specific information about the accounting policies in the town. So it's really not, it's not a GFOA issue. It's not something where you have specific guidelines, but it's, you know, it has, I mentioned the investment policy before. It has the investment policy in there. That's something that the the auditors look at the investment policy and make sure that the funds that have been invested over the past year are invested in accordance with policy. But the problem is in the policy manual, that investment policy is old and needs to be revised. There are some other ways that some of the accounting processes are take place within the town. Sheena had some specific comments in the document that we were circulating and reviewing. And no one's ever gotten back to addressing some of those comments. And some of them may even have changed at this point because you may be doing some things already that are different than what was done before. I mean, I think it may be too much to put on, to burden a new financial person with. I would think that, you're going to want that new person to really become familiar with accounting policies rather than, have to deal with a document where there's some accounting policy stated, but there's no certainty that that is in fact the right way to do it, or even in fact an accurate description of the way things are done. So I would feel better if we could find a way, as Debbie said initially, of splitting this thing up and taking on some assignments and actually getting it done. I mean, I'll easily volunteer for taking care of the investment policy. That won't take very long at all. But I'm sure that there's some other sections that I have not looked at in a while. I'm sure there's some other sections rather that I could contribute to and provide some help on. And I don't know if others on the committee here want to take a look at it from that perspective and see if there's a section of it that they may want to just adopt as their own and take on and do what they can with it. And
Yeah, I'll take on a piece of it too. That's a good idea.
It's something that we kind of our homework assignment until our next meeting is to kind of everybody take a look at that again and see if there's a section that you feel comfortable kind of trying to tackle.
Well,
and I'll do the same.
I'm going out hopefully for a weekend surgery in August. And I promised Ashley that I will have everything written out so that Bill can walk into my office and go step by step for everything that I do.
Right.
So that means I'm rewriting every direction.
Okay.
For how I process payroll, for how I do the AR, the AP, how I do everything. We've instituted a couple of policies, but we don't have them in writing.
Right.
Like once a month, Bill goes and he audits the petty cash in every department.
Right.
And logs it and things like that. We're instituting things. I just haven't had a chance to write them down.
Okay.
So Bill and I talked yesterday, and one of my projects for this next month and a half is to write down everything that has to do. So that'll help towards the policy manual, because we'll have everything will be, step by step written out. So then we can take those steps and say, this is how things are done.
Okay.
But any help is appreciated.
Gotcha. Okay.
The other thing that we could do, I think, with the policy manual is in terms of looking at the sections and breaking it up. We could identify certain sections where, none of us, collectively are in a position to really provide much in the way of input. And we can at least identify those, and then the task is then to go find some help.
Okay.
And maybe that's Luff, or maybe it's, having a, conversation with Sheena, or taking the notes that Sheena puts together in terms of describing what it is she does and how she does it. That's at least another approach, I think. It's a kind of a negative way of looking at things, but at least we've identified sections where we know we would need some help.
Okay. Well, I'll kind of, when I send out the last minutes and Bernie's document, I'll kind of mention that's kind of what we're looking to do.
Okay.
Since Donna and Janine aren't here tonight, we can enlist them as well to kind of take a look at this again. And then I'll also try and I'll email Ryan Ebner and just see if they have a date that they're working for a draft, just to kind of get an idea what their thinking is. And then maybe we can, schedule another meeting, mid-July. Hopefully that'll be when we have a draft. If that sounds good with everybody.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, well then I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate your time. And like I said, I'll get an email out and we'll see what we can do. Okay.
Thanks, Kate.